The submerged castle is hands down the most notorious cave in Pikmin 2. And it's mainly because of this guy, the Waterwraith. If you take longer than 5 minutes to complete a floor, the Waterwraith will spawn and try to kill you and your Pikmin. And he does this by crushing them with his massive rollers, which, if they catch you in the right spot, can wipe out your entire team in a matter of seconds. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, you can't kill him unless you have purple Pikmin. Purple Pikmin are the only way to damage the Waterwraith, and you have no way to get them until you reach the final floor of the submerged castle. So it basically makes the submerged castle this horrible race against the clock, where you have to finish each floor as quickly as possible so you don't have to deal with this monstrosity. And this is why this cave is so notorious. It's why the submerged castle is the most hated cave in Pikmin 2. But what if we made every cave into the submerged castle? What if we spawned a Waterwraith on every floor in every cave in the game? And not just one. What if we spawned two? Two Waterwraiths on every floor, in every cave in the game. What if we removed the 5-minute timer so they would spawn as soon as we enter the cave? And what if we got rid of every Violet Candy Pop Bud in the game so we couldn't get purple Pikmin? Meaning that we couldn't kill him at any point. Would it even be possible to beat the game like this? And I guess a better question is, who would even be sick enough to try it? Me, it's me. I'm gonna be trying it. So, ladies and gentlemen, buckle the f*** up, because this is about to get f***ed real quick. Before we start, I want to shout out my boy Salem FNIX for making this awesome mod. Without him, this video would not have been possible. So, please thank Salem by spamming "Thank you Salem" in the comments. Oh, and if anyone wants to play this mod, I have it linked in the description below. But anyways, on with the video. So as we land on day 1, I quickly realize that it's not just the caves that are going to be filled with Waterwraiths. It's the overworld as well. As you can see, there's a Waterwraith just riding around right past this bag. Thankfully today, we don't have to deal with him, because we just have to collect the battery. But tomorrow is gonna be a different story. Because on day 2, we need to break down this bag to get to the emergence cave. So I immediately break it down and the Waterwraith just rides right on by. Which is fine by me because it gives us some time to kill this Bulborb and sprout some more Pikmin. But then he just decides to get stuck on this bag and block our only route back to the base. So when my Pikmin try and bring back the treasure, they just end up getting absolutely crushed. And this right here is one of the most annoying aspects of this run. When the Waterwraith comes in contact with the treasure, it'll just ride right over it. And even though it doesn't look like it's touching the Pikmin, it'll still crush them like he rode over them normally. Which means that Pikmin are not safe while carrying treasures. And here's a little foreshadowing for you. That's gonna cause some major issues in this run. But let's not worry about that for now. For now, let's head into the emergence cave and see what the first floor has in store for us. Yep, that was 20 seconds. Not 5 minutes like in the submerged castle, 20 seconds. That's all we get. Luckily, I was able to get the orange by him just before he dropped down, and then sloppily sneak by the bottle cap. But that was the first floor, and we've already lost half of our Pikmin. How the fuck are we gonna do this? Before we get back to the video, I just want to mention that we started a Patreon. So if you like what we do here and want to support us, donating to the Patreon is the best way to do it. Thank you, and let's get back to the video. So we go down to the next floor, and the first thing I notice is that the Waterwraiths don't do damage to enemies. Normally in the base game, the Water Wraith will do a ton of damage to enemies, and you can kind of use this to cheese some of the floors in the submerged castle. But we're not going to be able to do that, because they don't hurt enemies in this mod, just us. So not only are we going to have to deal with the Water Wraiths, we're going to have to deal with the regular enemies as well. Oh, and yeah, as you can see, the violet candy pot buds have been removed, so yeah, we can't get purples. Yay. And I know what you're thinking, if we can't get purples, how are we going to bring back the glow piece to unlock the awakening wood? Well, my boy Salem lowered the Pikmin count on the globe from 101 to 70. So, the run doesn't stop right here, we have to keep playing. And since we got completely decimated on floor 1, we have to leave, grow some Pikmin, and come back. Which is what I do. We get 78 Pikmin, come back, grab the glow piece, and move on to the awakening wood. Yeah, so the Water Wraith spawns right where our ship is supposed to be. And our ship has been moved all the way over here. So this is going to make getting things back to the ship and the onion very difficult. As you can see here, I try and bring back some berries to the ship and all my Pikmin just get murdered. So that's cool. Eventually, I do end up getting them back to the ship, however, and with that, we get the one saving grace of this run. Salem has gifted us 100 spicy sprays. And it might be the one thing that actually makes this run possible. And you're probably thinking, oh wow, did Salem gift you 100 bitter sprays as well? Nope, bitter sprays have been completely removed. They're gone. So these 100 spicy sprays are the only advantage we're gonna get. So after we get the sprays, we break down this wall and then head down the Hole of Beasts. The first floor of the Hole of Beasts only has one treasure, and it should be simple grabbing it, but it's not. The only way you can really get your Pikmin out of the way of the Water Wraith is by using the C-Stick. The problem is, even though the C-Stick can move your Pikmin, it'll also cause them to attack things. Which will cause situations like this, where I'm trying to move my Pikmin out of the way, and they'll just start attacking enemies, which stops them in their tracks and allows the Water Wraith to just run them over. Another problem is when the Pikmin bring a treasure back to the ship, they're just going to stand there and wait for our orders. Which you can see the Water Wraith takes full advantage of here. Which means I basically can't leave any Pikmin out in the open or they're just going to get killed. And once again, I lose half my Pikmin on just the first floor. But this time, I'm actually smart and choose to reset and try again. And after trying again, I get the treasure back without losing a single Pikmin. The rest of these floors are pretty uneventful, and basically just consists of me sneaking treasures past the Water Wraith while it's distracted. That is, until we reach the last floor, which consists of an Empress Bulblatz and a Water Wraith who is a complete douche. Normally, when the Empress gets attacked, she'll do this throwing motion and proceed to roll side to side. And even though the Water Wraith can't do any damage to her, when he hits her, it still counts as an attack. So she's basically always rolling, which makes my window for actually attacking very slim. And of course, he rolls right through the center of the arena, which is where my Pikmin want to attack, which causes a lot of shit like this to happen. But after a few tries, I do end up taking her down and she drops the Love Tester. And bringing the Love Tester back to the ship actually ends up being harder than the boss fight was. And this is a reoccurring theme throughout the entire run. Escorting parts back to the ship is so difficult when this guy is rolling around like a complete jackass. As you can see, he basically just rolls back and forth in a straight line. And this line is exactly where my Pikmin want to carry the treasure. So I have to throw my Pikmin on the treasure, inch it forward, and then call them off when he comes rolling by. I do this over and over again until we finally make it to the ship. And obviously, this is super tedious and annoying, but this is our life now, so we better get used to it. Either way, we collect every treasure, complete the cave, and then try and find our way to the White Flower Garden, which just happens to be blocked off by this bag. A bag that we need purple Pikmin for. But if you watched my white only run, you'll know we don't have to with this bag at all. All we have to do is wake up this creeping chrysanthemum, get it to do its belly bounce attack, and it'll knock us straight out of bounds. We can then call our Pikmin, which we threw in this bag earlier, and enter the White Flower Garden, bringing all of them with us. And I probably did this like 200 times in the white only run, so I guess this is just the way I get in the White Flower Garden now. And the White Flower Garden is where this run starts to get nasty, because we no longer have to deal with one Waterwraith, we have to deal with two. Which means their Pikmin squishing potential has just doubled. Thankfully though, there's enough pathways on floor 1 and 2 that the Waterwraiths get distracted and we sneak the treasures right on by. On floor 3, we find white Pikmin, which I basically have to pluck while this asshole tries to kill me. I place my Pikmin down by the exit and slowly pick them one by one while avoiding these guys. My whites find the tape, we bring it back to the base, and then this guy takes a giant dump right on my face. With some patience though, we do end up getting the tape back to the ship and head down to the next floor. And guess what? The next floor has 4 of them. Look at this carnage. Look at this. How the f are you supposed to do this? I'll tell you how. You reset the floor until you have a favorable layout. Which is what I do. I reset the floor until I get one where the chapstick is right beside the ship. Which I grab right away and then grab the mushroom while these guys are busy j***ing each other off in the corner. Which now brings us to the boss. Which is just a single Snagret and of course a Waterwraith. And honestly, it's pretty easy. The arena is so big that the Waterwraith just kinda gets lost and we kill the Snagret really quick. We even bring the part back to the ship without much issue. The floor was done, so I let my guard down for 1 second, and my entire squad gets wiped. These guys have such high killing power that if you make one single mistake, you're gonna pay for it. Which I do, because I have to reset the floor and do it all over again. Luckily this time, I actually pay attention and get my Pikmin out of there safely, getting all the treasure and completing the White Flower Garden. Which basically ends the day for us. And since the ship has been moved, the end of day cutscene is pretty great. Olimar and Louie are just kinda hanging out in midair and just blast off into space all by themselves. It's pretty sweet. On day 5, we collect the last piece of the globe, which unlocks a perplexing pool. And I use the 5-man knapsack to grab the herpes cream without the use of yellow Pikmin. Which is completely unnecessary, but still fun. And I have no idea what happens here, but as I end the day, you can clearly see that every Pikmin is in my party, but for some reason, when I end the day, 49 reds and 12 whites just die. I thought that I must have left them behind or something, but looking back at the footage, you can clearly see that they're in my party. I just kind of chalked it up to being a mod and maybe some weird shit happened, but yeah, I don't know. But either way, I had to spend days 6, 7, and 8 building back up my army because we only had 4 reds and 2 whites left. After all that's done, we finally make it to the perplexing pool. And when we landed, I heard the sweetest sound I've ever heard in my entire life. Complete silence. No dropping of rollers, no Waterwraiths screaming, just silence. Yeah, for some reason, the Waterwraith just didn't spawn, which seemed weird, but hey, I'm not complaining. So with no Waterwraith in our way, we went straight to the Citadel of Spiders and headed down the hole. What the hell? What is happening? So at this point, I was kind of afraid I had broken the mod somehow, because I'm pretty sure this isn't supposed to happen. So I ended up talking to Salem, and he reassured me that this was completely normal. Apparently, the Citadel of Spiders is coded differently than the rest of the caves in the game. So, whenever he tried to spawn in a Waterwraith, this happened. So yeah, there was just no Waterwraiths, and we blew through the cave no problem. Which I kind of thought was poetic, because the cave with the reputation for being the biggest joke in the game just kind of remained a huge joke. But yeah, we finished the cave, and just before the end of the day, we find some yellow Pikmin and build up the numbers a bit. On day 11, I made the decision to try and break down this wall guarding the shower room. And Salem just decided to add a ranging Bloister to the water here, which made getting my Pikmin across really fun. After we finished that, we broke down the electric fence guarding the Glutton's kitchen and entered it. On the first floor, I tried clearing out all the dwarf bulborbs first, and then going for the treasure, but it clearly didn't work. So, the second time, I just ignored them all instead, and bum rushed the treasure, which actually worked out a lot better. Floor 2 wasn't really bad because these train tracks pretty much kept the Waterwraith to the outside, so I didn't really have to deal with it. Floor 3 was complete hell though. There was 2 Waterwraiths, a bunch of electricity, bread buds. It was just a complete mess. Floor 4 had our first encounter with a Bulbear. And this enemy is especially brutal in this run because once you kill it, it'll respawn unless you bring it back to the ship. And as I've already mentioned, bringing things back to the ship is the hardest part about this challenge. But thankfully, one of the bread buds goes against its nature and actually helps us out for once by disposing the body for us. We then get all the parts to this spot here and then slowly bring them back to the ship one at a time. Sublevel 6, we got super lucky and the Waterwraiths just didn't spawn. Their rollers fell to the floor, but that was it. So for once, I could actually take my time and slowly and methodically work my way. Oh god, they're alive! Oh god! Yeah, this one completely caught me off guard. I thought we were good. I thought the Waterwraiths were stuck and we could just take our time. But no, I got completely f***ed. Even with that little setback though, I was able to get the eraser from the giant bread bug pretty easily. But getting the donut and the fried egg was a little more challenging. After many Pikmin deaths, I was finally able to get them through, and we promptly left the cave. The next day, we headed back to the Awakening Wood to grab blue Pikmin, who we need to access the remaining caves. But since the paper bag was still there, we couldn't do it the normal way, and we had to use the Creeping Chrysanthemum skip once again. Once we got our blues, we cleared a path to the Snagrit's Hole and headed on down. And thankfully, no Waterwraith spawned on floor 1, which I assume is because the floor layout is so unique, but either way, it was a welcome change and definitely appreciated. Especially since the next floor was such a nightmare. Take a look at this montage and you'll see why. I tried for way longer than I should have to get this piece of sushi. But with 2 Creeping Chrysanthemums and 3 Waterwraiths guarding it, it was almost impossible. But then I remembered, hey, we're playing Pikmin 2 and I can just reset the floor layout. Which I did, and it ended up putting the sushi in a much better spot. Sublevel 3 was interesting. It had 2 Waterwraiths, but they were both stuck behind these fences, and there was no way I was letting them out. Oh my god, guys, what are you doing? Yeah, these 4-way Pikmin just went completely rogue and tried to kill us all. And I don't accept traitors on my team. So they received the ultimate punishment. Floor 6 was also just complete hell. There was so much water and poison, and I only had like 20 blue Pikmin. And they were all leaves, so it was so slow and so tedious. And then we got to floor 7. Floor 7 is normally where you meet the pileated snagret. But we also had another friend joining us as well. And 7 more friends on top of that. But thankfully they were all locked behind fences. And at this point, I couldn't help but think that Salem was questioning my ability as a Pikmin player. Questioning my Pikmin manhood, if you will. He put them behind those fences, thinking there's no way he would ever let them out. He couldn't kill the boss like that. He's not good enough. Well, guess what, Salem? They're coming out! Yeah, that was totally not his intention, and completely stupid on my part, but it worked out in the end, so whatever. After the Snagger's hole was done, it was time to tackle the shower room. And I swear to God, every time I play this f***ing cave, this guy gives me a swirly and takes my lunch money. Oh yeah, and having these 2 guys in such a small area was so much fun. The rest of the shower room was pretty uneventful though. It mostly consisted of me playing patiently, dodging these assholes while they rolled by, and bringing parts slowly back to the ship. And after the shower room was done, we only had 1 cave left in the perplexing pool. And it was the cave that inspired this horrible challenge. The submerged castle. Which honestly wasn't nearly as scary because literally every cave had become the submerged castle at this point. Until you realize that 3 Waterwraiths is a lot worse than 1. Like, just take a look at this shit. How am I supposed to get anything by here? Or, look at floor 2, where I had to throw my Pikmin across here, dodge the bombs, and then made sure they dropped down off this ledge when our Waterwraith wasn't coming by. Which was really hard. Especially when they did shit like this. And then even when I get it down, the spider comes out and trolls me, which is just super awesome. And then we have this floor, which is just an absolute cluster. It took me like half an hour just getting this deviled ham out of here. Then we reached floor 5 and received the forbidden fruit. The one thing that would make this entire run trivial. Purple Pikmin. Only 10 of them though, but it's enough to beat the boss, which just happens to be a Waterwraith. So we finished the cave and returned to the surface with our newly found purple Pikmin. And at this point, I had a decision to make. I had already been through so much suffering. So many floors with so many Waterwraiths. But it could all stop right now. If I kept these purple Pikmin, the rest of the run would be easy. All the suffering could be over. So I did what any sane man would do and threw them right into the water. Let the suffering continue! So next on our list was to head back to the Valley of Repose and finish the final 2 caves there. And I decided to tackle the Frontier Cavern first. And the Frontier Cavern actually went pretty well. The only really annoying part was this little cave that had a buried treasure inside. And these 2 guys just decided to camp outside, so I couldn't really do anything. Again, I just played really patiently, took my time, and got the treasure back to the ship. At this point, I was getting a lot better at maneuvering around and not getting my Pikmin killed like I was earlier in the run. As you can see, we make it to the final floor and I had only lost 13 Pikmin. And honestly, I was kind of dreading this floor because this boss is usually a nightmare. But because this floor is so big, the Waterwraiths weren't really a factor and they just kind of drove by every once in a while and ignored us. Once the cave was done, I headed over to the subterranean complex. And the subterranean complex is blocked off by a poison fence, which was kind of a problem because I only had 1 white Pikmin. Luckily, if we use our handy dandy knapsack again and lay right beside this wall, we can get our Pikmin to bring us right up it. All we need to do now is whistle our Pikmin and enter the cave. And the subterranean complex does not start off well. On floor 2, I get steamrolled a bunch of times. Like here, when I try to squeeze against this wall, or here, when the Waterwraith Donkey Kong slams my Pikmin. Or here, when they drive up this little ledge, which is something I didn't even know they could do. I do end up completing the floor, but it's now only floor 3 and we've already lost 33 Pikmin. Eventually, we make it to floor 7, which has 2 Gatling Groins and 2 Waterwraiths, which is just a recipe for a good time. Like, just take a look at this madness. I try and rush down the first Groink while the second one is firing at me. I take the first one out, and it drops the part. I try to quickly rush it out of there, but accidentally hit a bomb. I quickly hide in the corner so my whole squad doesn't get wiped. The bombs take out the Groink. This asshole comes riding by, and we finally get the treasure. And then we come to the next floor, which is either completely broken or some kind of sick joke. Guys, I just got a Discord notification, and the guy's name is Waterwraith? The f*** is happening? I had to find out the hard way that these rollers still do damage. And if you're dumb enough to walk into them, you'll constantly be knocked over, unable to escape while you're slowly killed. Thankfully, I could throw my Pikmin over this ledge and then slowly sneak my way by the rollers. And last but not least, we have floor 9, which is a man-at legs and 2 Waterwraiths. Which honestly sounds really scary, but it wasn't that bad. I just kind of hid in this corner where the man-at-legs couldn't shoot me, and the Waterwraiths just kind of left me alone. With the subterranean complex done, we headed back to the Awakening Wood to finish off the last cave, the Bulblat's Kingdom. And believe it or not, getting this little crystal back to the ship on floor 2 was such an ordeal. It became super obvious that simple floor layouts like this, where the Waterwraith only has 1 path to take, is so much worse than large, complex floor layouts with a ton of different pathways. Like here, he only ever rides along this path, and that's the path my Pikmin take back to the ship. So I have to throw my Pikmin on the part, slowly inch it along, call them back just before he comes, and then rinse and repeat until it's there. And it takes forever. And this is how most of the cave goes until we reach floor 7. Which I was pleasantly surprised by because there was no Waterwraiths. Just the Emperor Bulblats, who we promptly destroy like the absolute joke he is. But really, the joke was on me. Because just beyond this fence, these 2 guys were playing guard dog for this gyroid. The ramp up here was completely blocked off. And this guy seemed like he had the right side locked down pretty good as well. So I took some blue Pikmin and tried to throw them up on this cliff to get the part down. But even though they could jump up on this ledge and attack the fire geyser, they wouldn't actually do it to latch onto the part. And after a while of doing this, I was just kind of stuck. But then I realized I'm stupid and I could just walk up the ramp. I quickly got the part off the ledge, which actually caused the water wraith to fall off the cliff. And at this point, I thought we were in the clear. But then he engaged his 4x4, climbed the cliff face, and murdered my Pikmin. Luckily, I had enough left that I could still bring it back to the ship and complete the Bulblat's kingdom. At this point, we had paid off the debt and only had 3 caves left to finish this challenge. But they were the hardest caves of all. The Hole of Heroes, Cavern of Chaos, and Dream Den. And the one I decided to tackle first was the Cavern of Chaos. And let me tell you, that was a fucking mistake. Because not only did Salem add Waterwraiths to the Cavern of Chaos, he added some of his own spice as well. Like on floor 1, where these 2 Gatling groins just drop out of the sky. Oh, and this Waterwraith as well. After many tries, I was able to rush the parts out of there with white Pikmin and just barely get them by the Waterwraith before he fell. And on floor 2, our boy Salem just decided to add a man-at-legs in the middle of the map, who had a treasure inside of him. How fun. And then we have floor 3, or what I like to call the Creeping Chrysanthemum floor, which just happened to have 4 Waterwraiths added to it. Look at this shit. It looks like a fucking monster truck rally. How am I supposed to get parts through here? Then on floor 4, Salem removed all the bombs that are normally here. That makes this floor way easier. But honestly, it was still pretty easy because the Emperor Bulblats is a complete joke. On floor 6, these 2 guys got stuck in this pipe, which honestly just brought me so much joy. But then on the same floor, we had this little predicament, where the Waterwraith was blocking our only access to this treasure. So I had to grab some yellow Pikmin and make a pretty precise throw to get them on it, avoiding the Waterwraith completely. And I guess my red Pikmin didn't get the memo about avoiding the Waterwraith because they tried to bring the treasure right under his rollers. They somehow pushed it far enough past him that I could get it after, but like, why? And now we come to floor 8. And when I first saw floor 8, I almost shit my pants. Salem had replaced all the dwarf Bulborbs on this floor with dwarf ball bears. And not just that, he added 2 full-size ball bears as well, just for the fun of it. Oh yeah, and he also added this bomb right by the part, which was so much fun. The only semblance of mercy he gave me on this floor was that the Waterwraith didn't drop right away. So I was able to rush the part back to the ship before he even spawned. But just look at this army of ball bears thirsting after my Pikmin, it's crazy. And if you think that was bad, just wait until we get to floor 10. Because floor 10 is f***ed. There's 4 snitch buds, 2 of these guys, a Waterwraith, a Crobster, and a f***ing man-at-legs. Before I started the Wistful Wilds, Salem told me, just wait until you get to floor 10 of the Cavern of Chaos. I made it more lively. That's an interesting word. That's an interesting word for more f***ed. Thankfully, I was able to keep the Crobster in this corner, and by some miracle, the Waterwraith didn't wake up the man-at-legs. So I didn't have to fight both at once. After I disposed of the Crobster, I lured the man-at-legs over to this opening and hid behind the wall, only popping out to attack him. Thankfully, the Hole at Heroes wasn't nearly as bad as the Cavern of Chaos. There was an extra man-at-legs added on floor 7, but since he didn't have a part inside of him, I just didn't even bother waking him up. Since the Waterwraith took so long to spawn, I was able to kill the Range and Bloister and leave before they were even a problem. Sub-level 9 was kind of a shit show though. The Bulborbs kept getting woken up by the Waterwraiths, so they were constantly trying to chase me down. I had to basically lure the Bulbear over here, kill him separately, then with the other Bulborbs trapped in this lower section, I fought the fiery Bulblats myself and then carried the treasure back with my Pikmin. And then this happened on floor 11, which was kind of embarrassing. Then we came to floor 13. And even though it's not considered the boss floor of this cave, it should be. It had 2 man-at legs, 3 Waterwraiths, and 2 Gatling groins. This floor was pure hell. After that though, the other 2 floors were relatively easy and we finished off the cave. And with the Hole of Heroes done, we only had 1 cave remaining, the Dream Den. Let's start on floor 2. Floor 2 has this Gatling groin perched up on this tower. And whenever you throw Pikmin on him, he'll just shake him off. Which normally isn't a problem, but when you have 2 Waterwraiths rolling around, it gets a little dicey. Thankfully, I was able to hide my Pikmin in this corner and take him out with a squad of yellows. Sublevel 3 is the floor notorious for having this ball bear drop down out of thin air. Which, mind you, is pretty annoying, but it's even more annoying when you can't bring his body back to the ship, and he respawns, causing major issues. Then, we have everyone's favorite floor, Sublevel 4. This fucking abomination. I thought we were really in for it on this one, but by some grace of God, there was no Waterwraith. And with some good timing, I got the treasure back to the ship just fine. Next is floor 7, which is maybe in contention for the most evil floor in the game. But you know what would make it even more fucking evil? A Gatling groin. Oh, and of course, a couple of Waterwraiths. I first took out the Gatling groin before the wraith spawned, then took out this puffy blowhog and just barely avoided getting blown to smithereens. Then I slowly made my way back to the ship with the treasure. And now, let's quickly go over the rest of the floors. Floor 8 was f***ed. Floor 10 was also f***ed. Floor 11 can suck my d***. Floor 12, I never want to do again. And floor 13 actually wasn't that bad. Which now leaves us with the final boss of the game. Honestly, you would assume this fight was a lot worse than it actually was. If the wraiths actually tried attacking us, it probably would have been really bad. But they would mostly just ride around the outside of the arena, occasionally coming to the center once in a while. It's almost like they didn't even know we were there. It was kinda weird. For real though, the hardest part of this whole thing was just trying to get the treasures back to the ship. The fight itself felt pretty normal, but again, getting the treasures back to the ship was kind of a huge pain. In the end though, we did manage to get every treasure back and complete the final cave of the game. And with that, every cave had been conquered. Every cave, every floor that was filled to the brim with Waterwraiths and other bullshit was conquered. And honestly, I'm struggling with how to rate this challenge. Because it was really hard, but a lot of the challenge could be overcome with just being patient. Which is definitely something I'm not, so I probably found it harder than the average person would. But I think if I had to put a number on it, I would give it like a 7 out of 10. Which means you should actually try it for yourself, because it wasn't complete and utter suffering. It was actually fun! Which you can actually do because I have the mod linked in the description below. And once again, I want to give a huge thank you to Salem for making this mod and essentially making this video possible. Thank you. This video was made possible by our amazing patrons: Dragoon, Dr. Nuck, Rooney4, Leburb, Puddles Megan, General Josher, OMO, Fossil, Koi13, Darman, Ryan Levin, Phoenix Lazuli, and Anarchist Kale.